What's up, everybody? Yes, yes, yes. It is that time. Murals in the Market Live. I am Jason Hall, your host, the Jason of all trades. You can find me on the Instagram. That's what they call me over there. Man, as I look out and I squint my eyes, it is another beautiful day in the market. Y'all are tired of hearing me say that. Y'all think I just make up this positivity, but I tell you what, how can you not? Every day that I start working on Saturday, this is how I started. Beautiful skies, the sun kissing my face, and one of my favorite places in Eastern Market over at my winter home at Detroit Hustle Harder on Division Street. Man, oh man, welcome back. I see a lot of people, I see a lot of names. Hey, how's everybody doing? I love when I start the day off and it says like X amount of people are already on, man. That means that we are growing and the word is getting out. So thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for coming back. This week, man, I usually talk to somebody I know, but today I'm talking to somebody I know, but like it's crazy because I was just kind of looking through some stuff and I just found out like what she graduated from school with or what she was studying in school. And that is something that I never knew. So that we're just going to talk about that in a second too. But before I get into that, man, you got to look back on all the archives that we have. All of those exist on the Instagram, so you can check those out if you want to catch up on who we had or what we're doing and moving on in the future. So this week's guest is, I had to actually write this down because this is one of those things where like the person that I'm doing it with has so many titles and so many names that you're just like, all right, well, okay. So today we're going to start talking about her being the executive festival director at Murals in the Market. Roula David, she's been like an inspiration of mine for so many years, and we're gonna get into like what it takes to make the market happen and all that cool stuff. She's also the vice president of One Times Run, which is sort of connected, not even sort of, I sometimes say words, it is connected completely to Murals in the Market, and we'll talk about that connection, about how you can get a lot of the art from some of the artists on Murals in the Market over at One Times Run. And then we're going to talk about the spotlight. You guys hear me tease that a little bit. Every time I leave, I say, you got to check out the spotlight's Instagram and yada, yada, yada. So we're going to talk about the spotlight, which is a new venue that's going to be opening that's just got a ton of stuff going on. So as soon as I see Roula pop on, let me double check. She might be sitting there right now. I don't see her, but let me see. Oh, yeah, she is, man. Awesome. So I sent the request. And any second now, we'll be talking to Roula David, man. I like I said, I'm super excited. I don't know about you. What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hey guys, hi Jason.
Oh my! I gotta be honest. You're like, I love you. You're one of my best friends. But like last night, I was really nervous about doing this. I was like,
Why? Oh my God.
I joke around because like there are very few people in the world that I give like a crap about their like opinion of me. And you're one of those people, so I'm constantly trying to I'm like, is Rula happy? Is that
Oh my
good? Is
God.
like,
Well, I adore you and I'm so grateful to you for being like our host these past few months through the pandemic and really giving people like this inside look into the artists and some of the people that really make this festival and this like public art mission come together. So thank you. It's been really amazing to watch.
nah, this has been a dream come true for me. I mean, for those, to give a tiny little background because I hate to be that guy that talks a lot about the past because there's a lot of stuff going on. But the reason I even ended up here is like Rula's been constantly like, I never knew it, but she's kind of like had her mind on what I've been doing. And so like when I started transitioning out of one job into another, she reached out to me and said, hey, what do you think about doing tours from Murals in the Market? And I had never really, I had never really thought about that. I had done other stuff, but like I've learned along this path, she kind of like pushed me in a direction that was confident that I would excel in. And now doing tours, and this is like my life. It's as much my life as just riding bikes, which is a huge part of my life. So that's kind of my background of how I got here. And then, the pandemic hit and we evolved into this live situation where we had to sort of pivot like everybody else and say, okay, we can't take people out because at the time it was like we didn't know where we were going to be. So it was like, okay, let's figure this out. And you came up with an amazing idea, like, why don't you go out and do live tours? You're already out there. And I was just like, duh, it makes sense. And so thank you for seeing that in me
I
again.
just
And
wanted to say one thing about like the transition is that, I've transitioned from lots of different jobs and lots of different opportunities. And I'm always like so grateful because what I provide for you and other people is it's been provided to me by friends and colleagues of like just saying like you can do it. Like it's scary. It's so scary to change jobs. It's so scary to change directions in your life. But if you have somebody there next to you that says, you know what, like I'll give you the first like branch out, like let's see, like maybe nothing will come out of it, but knowing that you've got like a safety net, I think is like so awesome. And I think everyone can find that person for them when they are in midst of like transitions like that. So you're crushing it. I'm so proud of you.
nah, thank you, thank you. So before we get into like the obvious stuff, like I was just like, I always try to do a little tiny bit of background. So I was looking at your Facebook page, and it says you went to school for aerospace engineering.
Yeah, so my backstory is that I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. And in 1991, my family moved us back to the Middle East, and I went to high school there in Amman, Jordan. And so in high school there, you kind of go into one direction or other. It's like literary arts or science, and I was always like much easier. It was science and math and all of that stuff became so much easier to me than literary subjects. And so I went in that direction. And when I graduated high school, which I graduated a year early, I started college when I was 16. Um, I graduated like I don't think I want to be a doctor. I don't think I could be in school for that long. So I went in to be an engineer, and I was always fascinated with things that flew because I spent my whole life flying between here and in the Middle East, and I'd been on a plane since I was like 2 years old, flying internationally, visiting family. So it was something that I was really interested in. But my life took me in a different direction, obviously.
Is it still in you though? Like the nerd, like I call
I
like
always tell
when
people
the
it's my
rover touched
secret.
down, like when the
Yeah,
rover touched down, were you watching?
I tell people that being an engineer is my secret weapon because in a creative space, I can always kind of analyze things very analytically. And so it allows me to have like kind of a specific kind of advantage in this creative world to like kind of look at things in a different perspective and analyze things in a different perspective. So I do use it just in a different way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like now, look, if you could see me smiling, like we have a whole separate conversation because like my inner nerd just popped out. I was like, aerospace engineer, maybe we could talk about rockets.
Oh
Like,
my God, it's been so long though. Like last time I practiced, it was like probably in the 90s, early 2000s.
it's still in you, man. It's like riding a bike. That's all
Totally.
good.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's catch them up. So, I mean, clear. So you're in doing all this stuff, aerospace engineer. Where is there's clearly a gap between you and that and becoming the executive festival director. So,
I
where
mean, that
does
was like
life?
a long time ago. And so, straight out of college, and I'll try to make this as brief as possible. I opened up a nightclub, restaurant, lounge in Cincinnati called Vinyl. I decided to put the engineering career in a back seat and decided I wanted to provide culture in a city that I felt like it was somewhat lacking. They had lots of top 40 stuff, but my place had like a DJ every day for lunch, a DJ at night. I was really into house music. It was like we got 4 stars from the Inquirer, but I also
From
had
the
put it in like
from the Inquirer.
from the Cincinnati Inquirer. Sorry,
Oh, okay. I was like
it's
the
like the free
Inquirer.
press for Detroit. So like, I was 26 and I was like really creating this like thing, but I also put it in my neighborhood that I lived in, which was like very heavily crime ridden. And unfortunately, it didn't stand the test of time due to like, some of the things that were happening around in the neighborhood. But it allowed me to kind of see a different future for myself. And I kind of propelled there. And I was working in bars and restaurants. I bartended for almost 15 years. And then I went to go work for Red Bull. And
Wow.
so Red Bull kind of reached out to me in Cincinnati, and I worked for them on the sales side for a couple years there. And then my boss at the time, Meredith Miller, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call knows Meredith. She was managing the marketing territory for Michigan, and she asked me if I would be interested in applying for the job up here. And I moved. I left Cincinnati with Red Bull and came with Red Bull to Detroit and started as the marketing manager for Red Bull. And that's when I met you, and I met a lot of people, and Red Bull House of Art came to life, and a lot of like really big, huge projects that I'm so proud of and really loved working on. And I had worked for Red Bull for 3 years here in Detroit. In that time, I met my husband, Jesse, I met him actually like 2 weeks after I moved here. And he asked me to come and work for him and Dan's company, Dan Armand, One Time Run, full time. And so I was very prepared to do that. It was super exciting.
You changed the game with the Red Bull parties that used to happen. I didn't even, I'm ashamed to say that was kind of like my kind of weirdly first exposure to like that type of art show.
Sure.
Like I had been in Detroit for a long time and been to shows, but when I started going to Red Bull shows, that was like the entire experience from where it was to the artist, it was a game changer. There was not one party that I ever went to that a line wasn't down the block to get into that. And how did it feel to curate all that out the gate?
Well, to talk about curation, I mean, Matt Eaton was our curator for that project. As somebody that worked for Red Bull, I kind of wanted to not be completely responsible for the curation. I wanted it to be like a third party. And so Matt joined our team from the very beginning. Myself and the team at Red Bull, we actually built out the space. We saw the space, we envisioned the space. The space did not look like that when we first got there, but Matt really curated the artists and kind of managed them through that process. But then we kind of brought the life of the party together. And it's just like bringing all of your friends together, right? Like that's what it takes to like throw an awesome party, an awesome festival, an awesome art show is like your friend that's the DJ and your friend that's the sound guy and your friend that's the artists are all your friends and the curator's your friend. And then like this energy really kind of collects and builds up and just makes for this like massive, great vibe that happens. And it was always great, fun vibes at those shows.
And even back then, you were reaching out to me, even though I really had nothing to do with art. I was doing the bike parking.
You were doing our bike parking, yeah.
There was always an avenue that you were finding a way for me to connect to that.
I think even before Slow Roll, like you were doing Slow Roll to Slow Jams, and you did a Slow Roll through Eastern Market, like way back in like the early days, and you would start at Red Bull House of Art. This is before the Mural Festival even. You would start and stop. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it was like we've talked about before. It was like the connections. Like I knew Matt, and I was like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
If we're gonna be riding bikes, I love art. So why can't we connect these things? So absolutely,
Yeah, it was great.
I always tell people that's one of those moments where I feel kind of proud. I'm like, I've been around since before it was around. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've been around since the beginning for sure.
So you're doing the Red Bull thing, and then you start working, and then we moved to Interstate. I mean. Once again,
so while I'm at Red Bull, Jesse and Dan end up moving their gallery from Royal Oak to Eastern Market, and Jesse and Dan both had seen like kind of the success that we had with Red Bull House of Art and the shows, and they really wanted to bring that kind of energy to their gallery in Eastern Market. Now, obviously, it's not quite as big, and the pockets aren't quite as deep, but there is something to say about how to kind of bring kind of like a diverse audience together, and it has to be intentional. Like it doesn't just happen by accident. And they really wanted to have that be part of what they were doing in Eastern Market. So, and they wanted to grow different aspects of their business. So I was excited to leave Red Bull. I mean, I loved my time there. It brought me here. I'm so grateful to them. But I was really excited to like really kind of dig deeper into my entrepreneurial roots and like go in there with Jesse and Dan and really help build their business and change kind of like the direction of where they were going with what they were doing. And so, yeah, Interstate Gallery had already been open, I think, for a year before I started there. But then we really started kind of like kicking it up a notch and really having some pretty epic, awesome shows there. It was really fun. It was Interstate was really fun for like its duration. And when I started at Red Bull, when I started One Time Run in Interstate Gallery, Jesse and Dan had already started sponsoring mural festivals around the world. So
Okay.
before
Okay.
I even started, I had already went with them to like Powwow Hawaii, Powwow Cozumel. They had done not Powwow Cozumel, it was Seawalls Cozumel. So they had sponsored two different mural festivals internationally, which was Powwow and Seawalls. And they were just like so blown away by the impact those festivals had on those communities, especially Powwow Honolulu. I mean, what Jasper and his team there did, like how it inspired the community, how it like really invigorated their art scene and their music scene. Like Jesse and Dan both were like, we really would love to see this in Detroit, and we think that we can do it. But we don't have like kind of the expertise in like events and logistics and like all of that stuff. And so when I left Red Bull, I was like, you guys ready to do this mural festival? And they're like 150%. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And so that's kind of like we started as soon as I left. 2014 is when we started the festival, and we had our first one 2015.
Yeah, man. So you had already you brought the logistics to the table. I mean, you had already done some stuff with Red Bull, so you were kind of that third piece that they didn't need, but it definitely was a essential at that time, pushed them to the next level.
Yeah, so it was the logistical aspect as well as kind of like the intentionality of curation. When we started, like initially, like they wanted to bring a lot of artists that they had worked with that they'd never met, right? I mean, that's what's so cool about the mural festival for us, is that we bring in artists from around the world that we work with on a monthly, quarterly basis that we've never met in person. So they always wanted to come to Detroit. It gave us an excuse to do that. But I thought it was really important for us to balance that out with a local artist representation.
Yeah.
So whereas some festivals you go to, it's mostly people from out of town, maybe a few locals sprinkled in there. We were determined to make sure it was 50-50. That was something that I and team felt was really important. We have so much talent in Detroit. It's like ridiculous. I mean, I have people that call me from other mural festivals around the world, and they're like, where do you guys find your local artists? I was like, they just like seep out of the woodwork. Like they are everywhere here. Like everyone's so talented and so incredible, and we're so lucky to have this. And so I think that by putting these artists that were international, that have painted hundreds of murals and mural festivals, with these like artists from Detroit who were locally like very famous and very kind of advanced, but kind of, I thought that they could use like the sense of like mentorship from like these artists that have done it, and it was tried and tested. So there was like this camaraderie. I was like, there's no better way to learn about Detroit than through a Detroit artist. So the international artists, the national, the traveling artists would learn the most inside ideas of Detroit through these local artists. And these local artists really learned about what it meant to be like an international artist.
Right.
And I think right now, a lot of those local artists are international artists, which is pretty amazing to see and watch them grow and become. I mean, it's just like, it's amazing what they've been doing. So yeah, when we saw what was going on in those other cities, we really wanted to bring that energy here. And I think that you can kind of see and feel that now.
So how do you start the selection process? I mean, this is one of the questions people ask me. They say, how do you guys decide, what artists internationally that you're going to pick? Do you just make a list and go down, or
We do.
how do you? Yeah, that's how.
It's curated with our team here at One Time Run. It's myself and maybe 4 or 5 other people that work here, including Jesse and Dan. We go through some of like our artists that have asked us for years to come to Detroit. And so we start with them, maybe there's like 4 or 5 of them. And then we start balancing it out via race and gender. So the list really has to line up in that sense. How diverse is this? What is like the gender split? And then we start with like the international, and then we go over to the local, and then we do the same. On the local side, we try to keep it as reflective of Detroit's population as possible. So we try to make it as heavily African American artists as we can each year. I think it's important that the representation of the artists reflects the representation of the community. And so we try to be sometimes, the numbers might get skewed a little bit. Sometimes you don't have, those artists. Sometimes there's other artists in Detroit that have really kind of put the work in and they wanted to get into. So it'll skew a little bit, but we are really intentional about making sure that it's racially and gender diverse, and even in age. Like, we have very young artists, and we've had very like artists well into their 60s, 70s, you know, and so that process is really important to us. So really, it's curated. It's also like we pick artists sometimes that there's a specific topic that needs to be covered, and we know that that artist can cover that topic, and so sometimes that's kind of how the process started. Like, for example, our last mural festival, I was like, I really want someone to do a mural of Rosa Parks. I think it's really important. There are Rosa Parks murals in Detroit, but not like this huge like testimony of her and her great self, you know.
Right, right.
And so we started off thinking of artists that it would be a good fit for, and who would really kind of bring that vision to life. And Kevin Lito really kind of brought it, and he found this photo. We tried to find the photo credit. It was really hard. We found this photo, and if you ever go up close to that mural, in Rosa Parks' glasses is a reflection of Detroit in the glasses. It's pretty amazing. And so we started there, and then we start building through kind of different ideas and different artists, and making sure that we have like a balance of style. Also, like in Eastern Market, our walls are old and they're rough. And so like if you're a fine artist that does like very detailed work with a paintbrush, it might not be a good fit for us, because the palette that we have to provide isn't your palette. And sometimes we say like we actually need a lot of artists that just work in spray paint, and they don't work with brush paint because the walls are so rough. So there's so many different things that go into how we figure out which artist goes to which wall and how they're selected. It's really depending on style. It's depending on kind of topics and subject matters that we're trying to cover. And it's really a racial and gender kind of split that we make sure that we try to like even it out.
Right. No, that's awesome. So let's go back a bit, because I just want to talk about okay, so now you decided to start the festival. You know, where was the first step? You know, was it, let's call the city, you know, because now you're talking about, you're painting on big walls, you're talking about taking over a region, Eastern Market.
I love that you asked this question, because we started with Eastern Market, right? And we went to Dan Carmody and we said, Dan, we've seen these festivals in other cities. We are in this neighborhood. Like, we're painting these one-off murals. We were doing murals in Eastern Market, but nothing around a collective moment. And I was like, we would love to be your partner to bring this to life. And he was like, I would love to bring this to life. And he's like, I see this as a festival more with a mission than like a powwow, like more something that that there's something that there's an end result to that we can quantify. So ultimately, like, our mission when we started, and it's still my mission till this day, is to bring awareness around eating healthy in Detroit. People don't know, but Detroit is a food swamp, not necessarily a food desert. There are grocery stores, but the quality of food and produce that you can find at those grocery stores is low. And we wanted to let people know. We used the murals almost like sticky tape to like draw people back into the market and know that it's open many days of the week where they can get fresh food and produce and meats and products. So we came in a partnership with Dan, and Dan Carmody. I mean, I have to like give the biggest, most huge shout out. I hope he's listening. If somebody is next to him, tell him. He just like really just trusted us and believed in us. And I'm going to be honest with you. We've had other artists and curators that came through Eastern Market, and they tell us like in Detroit, it's the most free-feeling artistic district compared to other districts in the city, because of the freedom that Dan gave us, and the freedom that, because Dan gave us, we were able to give to the artists. We never even see a sketch before the mural goes up on the wall.
Really?
Really.
Never?
I get just as surprised as everyone else when they get completed, because I don't know what they look like. And that freedom that we give to those artists really create for such an incredible, diverse selection of art there. There have been a couple of situations where an artist wanted a particular wall, and I'd have to go to that business owner, and they say like, well, I'd like to see a sketch. And so it's usually directed by the artist. But if somebody's asking for a mural on their wall, they can't pick what artist they get. They can't pick what art they get. It's completely chosen by whether it's Eastern Market or the artist themselves.
Now, have you ever had a time where that might bit you in the ass? Like you just put some art up, like we talk about the Bisco
I
Smith
always
piece.
had a rule. I always had a rule. I have a rule for the building owners is that we just ask them that no matter what, they keep it up for a year. If they don't like it after a year, we can change it. But we ask for at least a year, whether they like it or they don't like it. And two, when we start with the artist, we ask them, we have like a very simple kind of rude guideline. We say, no guns, no blood, no boobs. And I was like, if you guys stick to those 3 rules, like we're good. I don't see like what other subject matter. So we've had a lot of like social, like commentary about what's going on in society. We've had a lot of political commentary, whether it's subtly or whether it's in your face. And I think that's really important. I mean, you have lots of subject matters and topics that are covered in the art when you go to Eastern Market. And it's because of that freedom that I think that we were able to give to the artists to do whatever they wanted to do.
You're like beating me to the punch to half of these questions because, I was gonna say, do we tell the artist what to do or of that nature? But no, it's a free situation completely. I
It is a
love.
lot of, we give them a lot of freedom. Yes.
So has there ever been a time where, like I said, I gotta ask, where somebody started doing something and you were like, oh no, that's not gonna work?
I'm trying to think, and I honestly I don't think I've ever had that situation. And I think that comes from communication with the artists, with the proper curation, the proper artist in the proper area and the proper scenario. Um, if anything, it's always like they put something up, and I was like, whoa, I was not expecting all of that. Like, that's so incredible, right?
Right, right.
I think that's like usually where my shot comes from. The first year we brought an artist, those murals are not there anymore. The first year we brought out Roan from Australia, and Roan had painted that the gray face woman on that gray building going into Eastern Market. It's kind of on your right hand side on Gratiot. And it was like a woman, it's like a beautiful young African American woman with her nose, like her face up in the air, looking super regal. And we do a tour with all of the artists every year to show them around Detroit. We ask the local artists to come. If they don't want to, they don't need to. Like, they know what Detroit is. But for the traveling artists, to give them some inspiration. Well, on this tour, Roan met Sydney. Sydney took the tour with all of the artists. She was the only local artist that was on this tour. And it was the first year. Sydney was like all in. She was like, I want to know and learn. And she was a sponge. She's like, I want to get it all in. And so she met Roan, and then Roan the next day photographed Sydney and her mother. And then that was the other side of the building. So Sydney and her mother came up. And so like those are like just the most beautiful surprises that I get that are so unexpected. And I think those are like, that's like the magic that you get when you give people complete artistic freedom.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any pieces that you particularly, any productions that were like just meant not are your favorite, but like had a really huge impact on you?
It's always the ones that take like a little bit of extra work. Or that, I think sometimes, especially on the local artist side, they come to you and they're like, I really want to do this wall. I really have this idea. I really want to bring this to life. How can you help me? Just help me get this wall. I promise it'll be spectacular. And I think like 2 artists that really stick out that did that was Pat Perry and Sheafy. Pat Perry with his second mural that's up on Gratiot. And he's like, Roula, I really need to get this wall. I mean, we probably had 10 to 15 different meetings and phone calls with the building owner because he really wanted it. And I knew he would do something amazing. And he painted these 2, he lives in that neighborhood. He lives just right up here from Eastern Market. And he painted 2 people from the market. Stick Man was one. And the other was an older woman who was like the protector of the neighborhood. And he completely immortalized these 2 neighborhood characters on this mural, and it was so gorgeous. It took people's breath away. And recently he told me that the woman recently passed, and the family asked him to come to the funeral, and they used that image as the cover thing for this woman's funeral. It meant so much to them. It meant so much to him. It meant so much to her. And so those are like, you know, it was a lot of hard work. It was really tough to get the wall, but at the end, it was like so worth it. And Shifi, you know, the first mural he did was on birds. And then he asked he asked me, he's like, hey, Roula, I know that sometimes it's hard for an artist to come back a second time. Can I repaint my mural at birds?
Yeah.
And we were like, sure. But then all these people started coming out of the woodwork. They're like, we love this mural at birds. Please don't paint over it. So we went and found Shifi another wall, which is the one on Gratiot, which is like, what is it? Detroit Never Left.
Yep.
And I just think that one was meant so much to Detroiters, especially with this conversation of New Detroit and how Detroit has got a comeback, you know, and Shifi just really kind of put it in their face and was just like, it never left. We're still here. It's just as great as it was 10, 20 years ago. It was great then. It's great now. And I think that was like a really special mural because he was so thoughtful about what his message was. We also did a collaborative mural with, you know, Desiree and Desiree Vincent with her work around testing Detroit rape kits. And she really wanted to do a mural with that. And I was like, go pick the artists and, you know, we'll see who's available and we'll see who'll do it. And she selected Askew and Sydney James. And Askew that year was like, I don't think I'm coming. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to the U.S. You know, he was in Australia. And I was like, well, listen, we're going to figure this out. We'll get the plane ticket, whatever, you know. So we got Askew, we got Sydney. They collaborated. They created the mural that's right there across from the fire station with the speak no evil, hear no evil, see no evil. And man, that one was like so special that year. There's been so many talks and comments and commentary. It was recently used as a backdrop for Jada Pinkett's show, The Red Table. They were discussing the topic. And so like those ones that, you know, they take a little bit more, they take a little bit of extra work, they take a little bit of extra effort. They're the ones that kind of like sit and live with me a little bit longer because of that. But when it comes to like all of the murals and all of the work and all of the energy that people have put throughout the district, I mean, every time I take a walk or drive by, I was like, oh my God, I remember when they were here and I miss them. And I remember how hard this was. Like we did these pothole. I don't know, Jason, do you ever show people the potholes with Jim Batcher?
Oh yeah, of course.
So we did these potholes with Jim Batcher. Well, what we didn't know was that at the time that we had to get permission from MDOT. We just went and did them. And they're like, well, you know, because the materials, I was like, I can't believe we're having this conversation because there's like, you're literally like slapping our hands for filling potholes in Detroit with art when there's like gazillions of potholes.
Right.
But you know, I think all of them still are there except for one that got removed because they were streetscaping. So we figured it out. We worked it through. So all of those that have like their conflicts are the ones that are the most memorable for me.
Yeah, and we're talking about that, the evolution of the art. You talked about Shifi fixing his piece, and then Jim losing a piece. People always ask me, do you guys call artists to fix the art? Or what's your philosophy on the art? Do you fix it?
So they're not meant to live forever. You know, I mean, we don't have the budget to like make these forever pieces. If you guys know the high-low piece, that's the big, huge one that just got restored, that's got the watermelons and the high-low on the side. You can see it basically off the freeway. Well, that piece, you know, that's a piece that was done back in the 60s, 50s, 60s. Eastern Market commissioned the artists. They invested money and time to make that thing last forever or as long as they can. We unfortunately can't invest that much energy in each one of those murals. And as we've seen in Eastern Market, the buildings change ownership. And so if you have a contract written with one person, it's not valid when it gets sold to another person. And so we've had a lot of those like conflicts and issues with the change of ownership and losing some of these murals. And it's expected. I think most artists, when they come to paint a mural festival, they know a lot of times it's a neighborhood in transition. That's how a lot of these walls get acquired in the first place. I think considering all of the change that's happened in Eastern Market, we still have so many of those murals. And we recently just saw this this particular evolution of one of the buildings that just got demolished and it is being rebuilt. And they reached out to Denial and Shifi to like kind of create this new glass style mural that's going to be in this building. So people are getting creative. They are figuring out ways to make sure that the art still lives on. And once it's on the wall, and if something happens to it, like it gets demolished, if it like gets hit with graffiti, which we've never really had that problem, we ask the artists if they want to come back. We try to clean it up as much as possible ourselves. And then if it's like to a point of no return, we ask the artist to come back and fix it if they want to.
So two moments that I always think about it in my life. One is called the oh shit moment. The oh shit moment is when I realized what I was doing was way bigger than I intended it to be, and that I was going to have to hold on tight for a ride. Did you ever have an oh shit moment?
Oh yeah. I mean, when we did the mural festival, we were like, will people really even get this? Like, we were like, will people really understand what this is? And we had so many people that came down, and I was like, just and older people like with their cameras taking photos, and I was just like in shock. And we weren't sure if we were going to come back the next year, because the first year, like, we paid for most of it out of our own pockets. One Time Run paid for the festival. We did not it was hard to even sell to a sponsor or partner because they didn't understand the impact that it would have. It was still a really early time in the mural festival movement. I think now if you spoke to somebody, they'd be like, oh, we get it. But at the time they didn't. And after the festival, we received like a message or a Facebook post from this woman that took her mother, who had Alzheimer's or had some kind of degenerative disease, and took her to the market to show her the art. And she said that it was the best day that she had had with her mother in like 10 years. And that was like really my oh shit moment, that what we just did was like much bigger than who we are, what we're doing. It became a situation where it was really providing hope and inspiration to just Detroiters. The murals started becoming backdrops to people's lives, engagements, weddings, graduations, music videos. Like, I mean, it starts getting a life of its own, and the life is like past just what we did. I think that's like been the oh shit moment for me. I took an Uber like a year and a half ago, and the Uber driver was like taking me to Eastern Market, and she's like, what do you do? I was like, oh, I helped, produce all of these murals. I was like, I don't paint them, I just like help bring them to life. And she's like, I moved back home like a year ago, and she's like, these murals give me and my daughter everything. She's like, we're here every weekend. She's like, it has provided a sense of like home and place for me and my daughter. Like, I can't tell you. And like, just like those like random stories from like strangers that are so meaningful to me, and really gives me like the energy to like go back out there and raise the money and do the logistics and knock on doors and ask people for their walls and fight people for their walls and fight people for their money. So I think that what the local Detroit community has embraced with it is really what gives me my juju to keep on going with it.
No, that's what's up. I mean, I almost started crying because I know what that moment feels like when you actually. Yeah, totally. It's one thing to have an idea and make it happen, but it's another thing to be accepted within a community and the community you're trying to reach, especially. You know what I mean? So congratulations on that. I can tell you every summer when it goes down, this city feels like it's electric. You know what I mean? People are everywhere. When I come down here, it's so funny because people would be talking about Jim Batcher. They're like, hey, do you know where all those are? They'll literally
they're like, do you know where the Aretha is? I'm like, I don't.
Yeah. And they're like running around and they're like looking, and I'm like, look at this. And people don't understand that festival in the short period of time has become one of the trademark biggest festivals in this city. You know, the fact that that pandemic did what it did to it this year left a gap in this.
Yeah, but I think also like it created for the murals themselves, like it was one of the most awesome things to do to socially distance through the pandemic, right? And I think that they still had a place with people. We got it way less than a lot of our friends in the entertainment industry when it comes to like people that ran other festivals and bars and restaurants and like we got it way less, and we're super lucky, and we still had so much beautiful art that impacted people. Hopefully this year we can bring something back. We're working on it. I can't really share any details just yet, but we're just trying to check out the feasibility of bringing the festival back and what it's going to take. But we hope to have something for everybody in 2021, and hopefully everything starts getting safer for people to gather again.
I mean, this year, just because the festival, quote unquote, stopped, didn't mean the art stopped. I mean,
No.
you partnered with the ACLU. I mean, there was art all over, murals. Talk to me about what happened this year with NDBC. I mean, all these guys were
So,
just doing it.
So my job through One Time Run, I do the mural festival, but my actual job through One Time Run is curating art for nonprofits, corporations, civic organizations, just like, we do public art, and we do like in space, like kind of environmental art as well. And so I've done, year after year, I do this project called the Small Business Mural Project with Quicken Loans. It's one of my favorite projects that I do with Jasmine and her team. And we have utilized and used so many amazing local Detroit artists to bring some of these murals on these small businesses to life all over Detroit. This year we had a pause because we wanted to refocus what it was, but we did do one mural with Backpack in like the new center, Boston, Edison, in between area. It's fantastic. If you guys have a chance, check it out. And then Desiree Vincent, who did the rape kit kind of awareness mural, works for the ACLU, and she reached out and she said that we have a donor that's really interested in using public art as a tool to get the vote out. And I was like, girl, that's like straight up my alley. I was like, that sounds so amazing. Like, I really want to be a part of this, and I really want to like work on this with you. And so, I always present our clients with like lots of artists, usually somewhere around 15 to 30 local artists or national artists, and then they pick from that list. And we had NDBC, let me count them out if I remember all. NDBC, Freddie Diaz, we had Rick Williams, we had Sheafy, we had Phil Simpson, and we had Tony Hooligan.
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys use like the app Nextdoor, but I started seeing like on Nextdoor like people posting about Tony's mural in my neighborhood. They were like, this is amazing. And so I just saw that the murals really were so impactful for those particular communities. And I think it really helped get the vote out. And I told all of the artists that they should feel that this win for us this year, this huge shift in our political discourse, how important Michigan was, that their work was such a huge part of making that happen. And we were really proud of doing that work with them, and they were proud of it too.
Now, those pieces, we're in a time where these guys are going big, you know what I mean? Like, and so every day I would look and I would feel, I'm not even an artist, but just to be a part of this movement and this family, I would feel so proud. I'd be like, man, those are my people, putting the message out. And yeah, man, it was amazing. Congratulations on that once again. What's up to Leah? How you doing? I saw Leah saying what's up to you.
I see a question. Somebody says, how do you make the balance between local and visiting artists? 50-50. I think I mentioned that before. It's 50-50. So if we have 40 artists, 20 are local, 20 are traveling. If we have 10 artists, it's 5 and 5. So this past year in 2019, we actually went much heavier. We went much heavier on the local artists because we did that water tower building. And so that needed like I think we had almost 10 artists on that building. And so we only had maybe like 6 or 7 local traveling artists, but we had 20 local artists. And so it always has to be local is the focus, and then traveling a second. It's really funny because some of our artists started getting asked to do, local artists are getting asked to do mural festivals in other cities, like after the first and second year. And they'd go to these mural festivals, and they're like, Roula, they're like, they made us go get our own paint. Like, we had to share a room with somebody. And I was like, we are so intentional also about making sure that the local artist is treated in star status just like the most famous artists, and they get the same exact attention as anyone else. And they're like, this isn't what happens everywhere. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, yes, we definitely spoil you guys, and we want to make sure that you guys feel taken care of. You will create your best work if you're being taken care of.
And you take care of everybody. So we talked a little bit about the future. We can't get into that, but we can talk a little bit about all that noise that's going on in the
I know,
background.
do you guys hear it? I'm sorry.
What is going on? Every week I'd say, hey, if you're not following Spotlight Detroit on Instagram, you're losing. But what is the Spotlight Detroit?
So Spotlight is, you know, Jesse and I purchased this building over here on the east side, and One Time Run moved into it, as well as the guys from Simplified. They are in the back of the building. Tyree Guyton and his wife Janine Whitfield are our partners in the building, and Tyree has a studio space in here as well. So we had a warehouse left over, and we just like played with this idea, like, what are we going to do with this extra space? It was like close to 5,000 square feet. And we played with the idea of artist studios. By the time we fixed the space, the artists wouldn't be able to afford them. Like, and then we were like, you know, we'd love to open a gallery again, and we love doing Interstate, but we always really wish we could have sold the beer and wine at Interstate.
Yeah, right.
And we could have, like, you know, where people can contribute to the art show by making a small purchase, like buying a drink, not buying a piece of art. And so we started working with this new concept of creating like these experiential art shows, bar, cafe, music venue. And so Spotlight is really going to be a place where like it's like Jesse calls it like a creative clubhouse, where creatives can come and just be free, and like people can express themselves musically, artistically, performance, dance, all of that stuff is going to be celebrated here. We're kind of off the beaten path, so there's like a freedom to that, a freedom that allows us to kind of do some kind of more wacky, crazy things that you can't get away with in other neighborhoods.
Right.
And so we are so ready, and we're so close. We've been working on this for 3.5 years, and we are finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We know we're going to open this year. We know that it'll probably be like in March and April.
March, April. I cannot wait.
So soon. I know. And like people are getting vaccinated, and there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. And like hopefully once the weather gets warm, we can all kind of be together again. And I'm so ready to like see all of my friends and family again. I miss everybody so much.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as usual, we're always constricted by time on these things, especially when you're talking with one of your best friends in the world. We could talk for hours. Is there anything that you want to talk about before we take off?
I just wanted to give a shout out to like my family. I think some of them are tuned in. My sister Father and my mom, I think I saw them jump on. I saw Leah Rutt, who I know you guys talked to a couple weeks ago, who was for quite a few years of the Mural Festival, my partner in crime, my sidekick, we just kind of did it all together. I love her. And if we do the Mural Festival again, she'll always be involved. I think that I just wanted to thank everyone that's been tuning in and really trying to learn these stories. All of us at One Time Run. This festival is owned by One Time Run. One Time Run is the home and the place for this festival. And all of us at One Time Run are so grateful to the artists that bring this beautiful art to life, and all of our partners like Jason and Paxahau and just so many, all of our sponsors, Montana and Motor City Paint and the Knight Foundation and the William Davidson Foundation. Like so many people have just like jumped on board and just like really support us, Quicken Loans. And I just thank everybody, and hopefully we can like all do this again this year.
I have no doubt in my mind that we will. All those people you just named would not let anything otherwise happen. It shall return. I am not saying anything, but like I said, I need it in my life, and I need you in my life. Thank you for coming on. I need you in my life.
Thank you, Jason. I love you. And
I love you.
Say hi to the guys over there if you see them, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Yeah, because I got Jesse and Dan coming up in the future. So
awesome.
I can't wait to talk to those guys, because I know Jesse. Jeez, that might need to be like
for days.
That's like a 3-hour special right now. We might need to open a Patreon, and you can pay to hear what's over on that, man, because that's going to be a good one. All right, babe. I'm going to let you go. Thank you again. I will see you soon.
Talk to you guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Man, man, I'm speechless. I really am, because it's one of the, you never stop learning, from people you admire. You never stop learning. And then you never stop learning about people that you care about. And there's always things that, like I said, we could talk about aerospace engineering. We could talk about festivals. I didn't even know that they had sponsored festivals prior to doing the festival. So now that's a whole separate conversation that I will be having once again with Jesse and with Dan on solo tips. We did them before together, but it is so worth doing them solo that we're going to do that. I just want to thank everybody for coming out once again to Murals in the Market Live. My name is Jason, the Jason of all trades. You can watch any of our past, and this one will all be on our Murals in the Market Instagram archive, so you can go there and check all this stuff out. I highly suggest that you do, because every one of these is awesome. If you want to support your artist, you can go to One Times Run and buy some prints over there. And if you want to stay up with what's coming up, she kind of hinted at something, what's coming up with the possibility of something in the future for Murals in the Market. Stay up on the website, muralsinthemarket.com. Not only do I do live every Saturday, but I do tours of Murals in the Market. We do walking tours all year round, and we do e-bike tours in the spring and summer and fall. By all means, you can get any of that information at ridedetroit.com. You can see any of my videos, and I've got a ton of content going down. Not only do I do Murals in the Market, I got pizza reviews going down. I got bike reviews going down. I got a weekly show on Ride Detroit called Ride Detroit Weekly. Go check all that stuff out. Subscribe to the channel. I love you guys, man. I'm going to go have a great Saturday. I'm going to soak up some more of this sun and then get a Supino's pizza. See you guys next week.